Welcome back, everybody. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I need to find ways to get more energy into my intros. Maybe I should start like shimmying before we
Maybe
start.
yogurt.
Oh, I knew it.
Or like a yogurt,
The
you know?
exposure
Dan
on
just
on
dance
our
dance
show.
around. Dance
Oh my
around with
goodness.
yogurt.
Mm. Welcome everyone to our show, the Anykeem, the show where we discuss esports culture and happenings. I'm your host Draconis, and I am joined. Actually, now it's Drexama. Ah, now I'm joined here with Joshua, my
Hello.
co-host. And oh, here it goes. Second time of 2016, Strigua. Did I do
Hmm?
it?
Yeah, sure. Why
Yeah.
not?
Excellent. I'm batting 2 for 2. Has to be the hardest name in esports for me to say, or anyone to say. I'm gonna go with that.
It's
I
printed
don't.
on the screen if you want to take a
I
look.
can't. I don't know. I can't pronounce it. Maybe I can't read. I just.
Yeah,
I
I think we
just
have a bigger
NAK
issue then.
exclusive. Can't read.
can't read. I'm just exposed. Um, I'm just not prepared. Gentlemen, how are you?
Fine. Yourself?
Just peachy keen. I was just exposed my illiteracy. Don't know how I'm going to survive. Probably could get a job in esports. All right, got a lot of happenings I think going on. This is episode 34, technically episode 2 of the third season. Been keeping the show going quite some time. Actually, exceeded my expectations. When we hit level 50, I think I'm gonna get us a cake. And
Cake.
cake,
A Cinnabon, maybe.
I know, but I personally would get a cake. Like I'll get a cake for everyone else, and I would have my Cinnabon to myself. I don't share
Okay,
that stuff.
I
Can
see.
we get
Just share.
parfaits?
No, we all know who kind of people eat parfaits.
Yeah.
Uh,
City boys?
we won't discuss that. Critical updates. Yeah, we're not really much different from the last one, but I guess if you missed the last episode, brief overview. Winter is coming. Our new series, EGLX. We're working on that. That's in April, April 29th to May 1st. EGLX.ca. Keep on checking on there and the different events, and we're doing Dota and CS:GO specifically from our end. But the event is chock filled with all sorts of esports happenings and guests that will be appearing any day now, any day. But a couple of announcements.
You can
We're also
find all those exciting announcements online, though. Why spoil it here?
yeah, well, the any key exclusives right here first. You heard it
Is it
here.
exclusive, though, if it's already posted online?
First exclusive through voice. It's not. No one's. It's me speaking it, and that's exclusive enough. That's all you need. You
There
have
you go.
my exclusivity, my
There you have
exclusive
it.
voice. Um, yeah, and then I guess one of the benefits of here, you guys be on the show, you get to hear a little bit of the behind the scenes. So we're planning a bit of some pub stomps and bar
Pub,
crafts and
pub happenings.
pub happenings. I'm really excited to do some drinking and watch some esports.
Can't read, excited to drink. Oh boy, this is really
I,
deteriorating rapidly.
I think that's something you say every single episode. Every single one.
That I
Can't.
can't I get excited. Have you been? If you follow my Instagram, you'll see I drink a lot of wine. So I get the opportunity to drink wine and watch esports. Dream come true. All you have to do is throw a couple of Cinnabons in there, and I
Oh
would
my,
retire and
that's a
just
celebration.
curl up and die.
You know?
Call it die a happy man. So yeah, we're planning a couple of those, and I think that'll be exciting to get together and watch some of the important events happening up. The majors,
All the
probably
majors,
all the majors. 6 a.m. Our time.
CS:GO
Start
majors, Dota majors,
all the
StarCraft majors.
majors. I think
Everybody's got a major.
I think it's the most important thing is the fact is no one's doing it. So how are we gonna get a chance to drink if no one's putting them together? I'm tired of drinking alone. Uh, so I think it's better that we have people with us. while I drink. That way, I don't come across as an alcoholic.
Yeah, it's
Um,
easier to justify that way, at least. That's for sure.
Actually, you know what? That's what I like about you, Tamir. You always get me. You get
I
me. You
will.
understand. You complete me.
What can I say?
Um, let's. I think we should just jump into the first one. Hopefully. Actually, before we do that, is there any particular items I might be missing in regards to what's happening with us? I feel like I'm missing one key. Nope. Actually, never mind. I mentioned what we're doing with Kings of the North, didn't I? Any
Yeah, you
key
said it last
exclusive?
week.
I did. Well, rip. All right, let's jump into it.
All
Actually,
that wine.
it. So what people don't know is I secretly start drinking half an hour before the show just so I can prepare myself mentally.
Gets rid of the
Just got
jitters.
those esports jitters. Uh, I'm actually going to skip our first topic and I'm going to actually go to the ESPN because that's right now more interesting.
Yep.
Um, uh,
Imagine any production just flipping through the notes. Nah, skip this one. Let's just go straight to the good stuff.
so ESPN, actually, not too long ago, MLG. We'll start there because that's one of the things. MLG got bought by Blizzard, as many of you know, and there was a little
The
controversial
assets.
statement. The
The
assets
assets
bought
got
the
bought.
assets of MLG, and the controversial statement that was made by Konik or Kontek, I don't know how you pronounce his name, is I want to build the ESPN of esports or something along that effect. Uh, which ESPN responded by saying, "We will be the ESPN of esports," and they launched their own section, vertical,
It's
which,
hard to compete with ESPN for the title of ESPN of esports.
oh, right? It's
I
it's one of
just
those things where it was uncontested, so people automatically decided that was the spot they would fight for, and I don't even understand why it's such a coveted spot. Like, why does everyone want to be the ESPN of esports? What is it? What's so attractive to being that platform, and why not be something else? Because ESPN didn't suddenly go like, well, we want to be you know, the golden times, but
I
with
I think it's just mostly something to do with the fact that they have 3 channels on cable. Like that's
Well, they're like the major coverage for traditional sports, right? If you were to relate our industry with any other industry, it most closely resembles traditional sports. So to say that to say that
maybe.
you're the titan of your industry, it's kind of just like saying like,
What
is
is
ESPN the Titan though? Are they?
that's gonna say? Is ESPN the Titan? Like they're the, I guess maybe the
well,
Titan
we're in
of
Canada, we don't
coverage.
see it,
Well,
right?
we have TSN, which I presume is a spin-off of ESPN.
Yeah, and like we have lots of other outlets, right? So, but like ESPN is kind of just an example.
I don't know. I've never been a personal like. I find that model the relic of an old era. But I
Oof!
could be wrong.
Shots fired.
I don't know. I feel like we get a lot of our coverage specifically. We're like, you know what, I want to watch Dota. I'm gonna get it from Reddit and just the Dota subreddit. Like, I feel ESPN is very much like, come drink at the trough of everything.
Well, what we're lacking is one consolidated source for all the
Say
esports
that again.
information, right?
What is?
I don't
We're
think we
lacking right
want a
now.
consolidated sword. Lacking is a strong word to use. I don't think we're lacking.
Well,
I
that's
don't
what
think
I was saying.
anybody.
I don't know if we're
That's
lacking.
exactly what Drekken's saying. He's saying that nobody wants like one drinking hole for all the games.
Well, at least for a start, right? Like, okay, for traditional sports, you have TSN, TSN, Sports
But
Center,
but okay, but
all
that was
those
all
sites, right?
that was a necessity, right? Because opening a television station was expensive, right?
Yeah.
You don't just open up your television station tomorrow morning and like, oh well, here we go. And it was acceptable for us back then to say, okay, well, these people have the television channel, so naturally we should go to them because no one else is going to cover it,
I'm
right?
talking more about their website, right? Like, I know, let's say I only have time to watch the Dota major this weekend, but I want to know what happened in StarCraft. So I want to check the scores. So I want to check the league scores. I want to check the CS:GO matches, who won. Just
Okay,
if I could turn on my computer, go to one website and it's all there. Like that, my
You
life would be
can.
so much easier,
Do you
right?
find that easy? Like, I've never
There's
done
multiple
that.
of those. Yeah. Oh yeah,
Like
we already have lots of those.
yeah, we do.
I
Which
none that have been super consistent. I've been getting my information from a bunch of little sources and some that consolidate some of it, some that get 2 or 3 things that I like, but just one uniform platform, one website I need to learn how to use. Like we kind of lack that
oh,
right
I
now.
guess I never really
Maybe
thought about that. Like having
I,
a single platform to get all of it from.
I don't know.
Um,
Gosu Gamers does that. A lot of
well,
websites.
I actually use the score, so I find the score to
Sure.
be pretty handy on that stuff. I get the information at a glance without having to wade through tons of Reddit sub memes. I can appreciate that. I don't know. I've never been too much of a fan of such a large trough, but
Yeah.
ESPN maybe they've been doing it for years, so they probably have a good handle on it. So I can't fault them for doing it. I'm curious to know if they're going to do ESPN esports and do ESPN esports Dota, ESPN esports StarCraft, or is it just be like, here's the ESPN esports feed
Well, the
and
way
What are they gonna abbreviate it as? ESPN? Like I don't know.
like
oh,
the way they have the website set up now, right? It's like you click on what do they have? They have League, Dota, Hearthstone, and you can
they
just
actually
click
do
on the
have
three, and
that.
then you have all the news based off that. But what I found more interesting on the website was actually the schedule because it had a list of all events going on
I thought that was
from
kind of legit.
X day. So I mean, if it would look, I wish it was in a better format. I wish I could filter out stuff, but that's all things that could be worked on, right?
You know what
And
bothered me? They had traditional sports scores at the top.
yeah, that did bother me. But I mean, these are all things that are work in progress, right? Like this is definitely one of the biggest pushes forwards towards kind of what we need or something that's useful, some useful tool for the whole community. Or at least that's the way I see it. But
It's just it's I think it's when I think about it, there's a value. There's definitely a value at having a platform that will monitor and watch, you know, everything in one place. And the biggest problem for me is I don't follow traditional sports, so this is a bit alien for me because I never needed an ESPN in my life. When I needed to get scores, I would go to Reddit. When I needed to get information, I'd go to Reddit. Reddit was my quote unquote ESPN, but I could just really customize it to what I wanted.
okay, let me put it this way for you. Okay, like you're a busy guy, you do stuff all the time, but you definitely care about every single esport event that happened on the weekend, but you don't have time to watch it all,
Let's make that assumption.
right? So Monday morning, pull up in your office desk, you're having your morning coffee, you pull up
In my
ESPN,
cubicle.
yeah, you pull up ESPN esports, and you go, oh, that's who won that game. That's who won that game. Oh, okay. Let me see what the news is. Oh, let's see who's switching teams now. And all of a sudden, you have all the information consolidated for you, right? It's just a convenience factor.
Okay, I get it. I like that. There are two things that come with this in my mind when I think about ESPN as a whole getting into this, and I'm curious if they're going to. I really want to get the meme or the gif of when the first commentator on ESPN has to say some of the names from some of the players, like Doctor PP had to sports talk.
Or
Like
you
I
know, there
love to.
was Alliance's My Nuts. Not too long ago, there was a player called My Nuts on Alliance. So
like if that's what I mean. Like I would love to get to see. Like I know obviously Dr. PP is now PPMD, but like it's just the concept that our a lot of our gamer tags come from the subculture, and it's a very different experience. I don't know very much in terms of sports if there are any aliases, and I don't think that's a thing. But regardless, it's funny to think about them having to adjust to our culture. Because coverage is as it by its nature, you leave it in its element and you just present it. Um, it's I want to see the second thing I want to see in ESPN is how will they because they're obviously they're broadcasting Smash. Smash is going to be on ESPN. I'm going to assume
Yep.
I don't is this it's television, right? I didn't even read the full article. I'm presuming it was ESPN on television, not on say their live stream.
Yeah.
But Smash is an older game, you know, and it's not what's the word television friendly.
well, that's
Like
for sure.
It's not. It's just that. Well, that's what I mean. Like, it's not television friendly from a graphics kind of view, and television has a really big thing about making sure things look nice. You bought a HD television for $4,000. They want you to, see every pixels bleed. Um, in the internet age, we don't care about that kind of shit. We don't, whatever. It looks like what it is. So I'm curious to see how they deal with that scenario.
Well, I mean, we've talked this to death in previous episodes, right? You can debate on whether you think esports needs to be on television, one way or the other, but for our generation, the people are consuming their content online. So ESPN can bring all their production, all their assets, and bring it to a medium in which a person like me would actually enjoy it, right? So, like, number one, that's the website. I see their website as being the number one thing that they could do
Are you gonna
to
watch
get
it
an
on?
audience.
Are you gonna watch it on television? Are you gonna
I'm not
watch?
watching television. I'm not gonna have a cable subscription ever in my life. Like I don't see a need for it, right? That's our generation. It's more and more people who don't have cable. So if they're gonna try and market it to people on television, that's how they plan on doing it. Like, all the power to them. But I think what they really could do is get good streams in line and have quality content with all of the production value that they currently have, and that's where they would succeed. I think in this current moment, their biggest asset is their website, and if they can get
Wait,
that on
I,
par, if they can be the
you think
number
their
one news
website
source for
really?
esports, yeah, if they can be the number
I
one
don't know.
website for news for esports
That's
news,
but that's not
then
where ESPN makes their money though. ESPN makes their money on their television. That's their like real money maker, right? The whole concept here as a play would be you build your television audience and sell really crazy ad buys against it. Like, their website is good for us because yes, we will consume, like, and I say we as in our generation is most likely to consume the content from an online perspective, but like ESPN, for them to turn around and be like, "This made us a lot of money," would be they have to put it on television and then turn around and say, "Procter and Gamble, buy an ad, please, for $500,000."
well, that's the thing. If
Uh,
they had a stream, right, they get to control who advertise on it. If they're considered the big player in the industry, people are gonna front the money, right? Coca-Cola wants to put an ad on there, they're gonna have to front $100,000, whatever. I mean, made up number, but, like, you know what I mean.
you may not be too far off, but I
Yeah.
honestly do not see, like, when I think of this, I think of this as not a monetized play. This is don't leave me behind play. This is, you know what? There's a younger generation out there. Don't want them to think, don't want them to forget about me. I'm important. Our demographic is getting older. We need to at least put our foot in here before we don't know what we're doing. I feel like it is. I feel like it's just more like, don't leave us behind. We can do. We are obviously ESPN. We might as well be in this vertical. Let's sort of find our way in there.
Well,
Uh,
they have the money to do it, right? Like the website as it stands, and I mean their plans to release Smash on television. This is like alpha. This ESPN esports alpha stage. It's not, I don't, hardly ready to go public yet. But if they can devote resources to it, then they definitely have the means to be
I
a
actually
big player in the industry.
I actually just got a really interesting tweet, and it was from Nagata Lock. It was, whatever company devotes resources 24/7 coverage wins the war. Um, and I think that's very fascinating because that's what ESPN is known for. ESPN was the first one to bring out 24-hour coverage, and people laughed at it. And then they're like, now it's like, who's laughing now? Um, Coverage is such an interesting thing because don't we already have 24 hour? I feel like we already have coverage, from at least from like a written standpoint. So maybe I'm unfamiliar with ESPN's value add with when it comes to specifically coverage that they could add to us. Like, I don't know, do you, Josh, have you ever particularly watched any sort of sports broadcast? Like, you have traditional sports blood in you somewhere, right?
Yeah,
You've
I'm
so
Italian. Soccer.
yeah,
No.
as I mean, so
Yeah, yeah.
so when you see ESPN or you watch ESPN, you might say to yourself, uh, they're covering a tournament, X tournament or Y tournament, but we already have streams, I think, that cover tournaments 24/7, right? There's already streams that, like, ESL just launched their third stream of tournaments that go 24/7.
Yeah.
Um, so I really want to see the value add from ESPN. I think that ESPN is going to it's a great name. It's a great flutter. Everyone's super excited. people are gonna get paid some like legit money. Like if you're working for ESPN, you most likely have a, and I could be wrong. I've heard esports jobs that I thought were glamorous, not so glamorous in terms of financial. But I'm gonna assume that ESPN is treating it very seriously. They picked up Slasher. I imagine he's not. I imagine Slasher isn't super cheap anymore. I could
But
be wrong, based on
but
that
that's
picture I saw.
that's the whole point, right? This is why this is noteworthy, is because they're directly. This isn't coming from a sponsor. This isn't coming from a third party. This is them directly putting money into something that they already have some resources to do, adding more legitimacy to the industry. It's a good play. It's a good play by them.
I don't know. I think it's just a name, and we're all hyped by it because of the name. I get worried personally when I see ESPN, and I question the value because news is a commodity. Let's
Yeah.
let's let's be real here. News is a
It's
commodity.
it's entertainment. It's not like
Really? No, news is not entertainment. Like
news is
It
entertainment.
is entertainment.
News
ugh,
is entertainment.
no.
If you've ever watched the news, it's entertainment. Oh yeah, it is.
Okay, American election news is
No.
entertainment. But
News
like,
news is
are you
entertainment.
talking
Like
about? Are you talking about like
like
CNN?
I'm talking about like watching news anchors like try and like fearmonger is like it's trust me.
I'll bite on that. Okay, but
They make it entertaining, and that like
okay,
don't get me wrong. There's a value in it beyond just being entertained, but they have to sell it at the end of the day, and they
okay,
do that by being entertaining.
I'll bite that. Like I'll say that if ESPN takes our content and churns out like 24-hour shows that are entertaining for like rotating around the esports vertical,
I don't think
I
there's
will.
I don't think there's much for them to do. Honestly, they just make a channel that's like if you go on Twitch right now, there's always some esports happening.
That's
Pretty
what I mean.
much.
Okay,
Like
exactly.
there's
So if
very little content to fill as it is if they're streaming every major
okay, but
esports
exactly,
event.
but
So
that's the thing. Like I mean, that's where the value add has to come from beyond just streaming the tournament. They have to have hosts and talk
well,
shows
I
and
don't know.
like
Not
like I don't
necessarily.
Why is that hard to do?
I don't. It's
It's
not
not even
hard.
why is it hard to do.
ESPN is
I don't even necessarily agree. Like they don't necessarily need hosts and talk shows and stuff to justify a value in putting it all together in one place that's easily accessible in terms of consuming it. I don't think that they're going to add any value by being another match ticker, but I do think that they would add value if they made an ESPN platform where you could just go on and like even if it just linked Twitch streams, where you could just click on like you go to the ESPN website and watch whatever like major esport is happening at that time, whether it's League of Legends or Dota or CS:GO. Like that's what they do with traditional sports.
you know what this is
Like
though, and you know what no one's actually not talking about. The most important thing. This is actually an incredibly huge value add to organizers. And you know why? I wanted to know if anyone can guess why this is probably the best thing that could happen to mainly organizers.
uh,
Because ESPN is notorious for buying content rights. Notorious for buying it.
yeah,
Like they will, they're the kind of company because they're a content company, right? So
yep.
I 100% I honestly for 100% think this is a big boon mainly for content organizers, and I feel what we're gonna see in the next, let's say I'm gonna say 5 years, without biting my tongue too hard, is that ESPN is gonna come up to the Dota majors, maybe move up smoothie up to the CS:GO majors and say, look, here is $500,000. We would like to stream this exclusively. We'll even do it to Twitch, but here's $500,000, and
Yeah,
then
like
that's it. I see it. I see it coming because ESPN isn't they do it with all the others. Why wouldn't they do it with this vertical? Like you're not gonna see it this year or next year, but I feel like ESPN will be the kind of person that introduces broadcasting fees.
I don't know. Honestly, like to me, like I could definitely see that happening, but what I'm really looking at is like why did ESPN wait till now to do this? It's not like it hasn't been on their radar. I'm sure somebody in their organization gets paid to pay attention to these things. But they chose now.
Well, like
No, they
honestly, it boils down to the executives can't ignore it.
well
You are
that's
an
and
executive.
and,
It's
and
it's
that's what I'm playing on. Like the fact is they chose till now to wait to do something about it, which is fine. It just it tells you what they're gonna look to do with it. Esports has reached a critical mass where, like we said, there's always something happening. There's tons of content. People are all competing for it. Even though Twitch is winning at the content war right now, it's by no exclusivity right. They haven't bought all the content that they have. It's just been gifted to them. And
Okay, but
ESPN
here's the
is
thing,
basically
though.
saying, this content is gonna be worth something. We want it. Like, give it to us, right? We'll pay
Twitch,
for it.
but that's the thing though. Twitch is if you really have to understand the nature of Twitch, and Twitch has said it many times before, is that they aren't a content company. They're an engineering company. They are a company that builds you like they build the platform and they build
Well,
the infrastructure. And by
they may,
virtue,
they may
by
have started
virtue,
there at least.
Yeah.
no, but their idea is they're not going to call. They're not making any content. Like they themselves don't make a single, other than maybe the Twitch weeklies or whatever. But they don't make content. They're not in. They invest in their partners, but more or less, it's the broadcasters that have to make the content, right? They're the equivalency of Comcast.
Yeah, but investing in people is producing content indirectly, right? Indirectly, but you're producing content.
indirectly, sure.
So
You know what? I agree.
that's no different. That's technically not different than buying up another company and streaming their tournament exclusively. So
Sure, you know what I could see. I think they, anyone might say it's investing in their infrastructure or investing in their platform, but
like
you're right. It's hard to it's very difficult to distinguish the two.
they're in
But
the
what I'm
content
saying-
industry, right?
what I'm
If
saying-
their number one streamer said,
No.
I'm not doing this anymore, I'm going to Azubu, they would be fighting to get them back. If their number one streamer, I don't know who the number one streamer is, but if their number one streamer
I can see that, but I feel like it's going to be the thing is they're going to offload it to their bigger publish. Like YouTube's already done this. Like YouTube has the MCNs and who are the people who manage the content. They manage the talent. They are the ones that manage the shows. And YouTube, invests in these things and invests in some of these MCNs, but ultimately they invest in the YouTube infrastructure. And you're going to have these MCN, these larger organizations, larger companies. ESPN is the Twitch equivalent, I'm going to say. I'm going to say ESPN is going to be a Twitch equivalent. That's going to spend the money to cultivate this content and sell it to larger. Like this is the person that's going to go to Procter and Gamble. This is the person that's going to go Coca-Cola. This is the person that's going to say, "Hey, you know what? This esports thing, you've bought into the NFL. You know what? And still buying our $2 million NFL 30-second spot. Why don't you buy this $500,000, rights to the Dota exclusive majors, right? To them, it's like, oh, it's cheap. It's cheap. Yeah. Woo, super cheap, right? $500,000, easy peasy.
They are definitely the company to do it. That's for sure. Yeah. Like if anybody's gonna make those deals, it's gonna be them.
To them, it's just like it must be so attractive to be like, oh, you know what? X amount of million people watching this, super cheap to produce. We already have the sales team for television. This is an easy steal. Like ESPN.
That's the bigger picture, right? There's so much you could do if you have money. Like what's esports lacking right now? Money is what's preventing us from doing.
I don't think it's money. I think it's experience. Our industry by nature is young because the people who run it are younger.
Yes, but we'd be getting these big players with experience if there was money, right? If you have experience and you can make millions, you'd be hopping shit like nothing.
We have esports has the money. We have the money. It's just we don't have the history, the pedigree. Like ESPN has like executives who are older than some of us combined.
But that's the point, right? Is the people who have the money, people who are willing to fork out the money to the industry, are hesitant because they're older and they don't understand it, right?
Sure, absolutely.
So now ESPN has the money, they're willing to invest it, they're willing to put it directly to where it needs to go. There's no investors to please. It's just them. They're doing it the way they want to do it.
Well,
right? And that's the bigger picture. Is they can do. No, but right,
yes.
Investors are fine with you doing a project.
Yeah, this is not like an ESGN or like a Sapenda, shady money network that's produced here. It's a legitimate company with a legitimate business model who is for decades proven time and time again. They know how to make content and make money doing it. Who has entered the space? My only discussion, my main point and pain point is whether or not they are going to add value. to our scene. Like they're gonna have value from a money. Like the only way they're gonna get value is a zero sum game where they take value from somebody
You're
else.
asking whether or not they're going to add value, not if they're going to add net worth.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like
Yep.
I don't think they're the only the key points we already talked about, and I think that they will add value is like talk shows. Like they know how to produce this stuff at a high rate with a beautiful studio, better than anybody in the industry. Probably, maybe next to ESL or actually no, ESL I don't even think can produce like show content like ESPN, like actually produce producer and whatever have you, right?
Mhm.
I don't think ESL can do that kind of content, and that's the part that I want to see them do a spend. I want them to see them bring in their EPs, and say, hey, make a talk show that flies in players every night or whatever, and talk about, you know, how they felt what they did the last game, generate stats, and so people can do betting. Like I don't know the full breadth of sports, but I do know from a glance that ESPN produces content that goes really deep in the verticals that they're in, right? And it's not just
Oh,
Skype cam like what we're doing. It's people flying over to their studios and producing real stuff. So, and then the second thing being buying up broadcasting rights is the thing I think is just gonna just we can't stop it. There's no way to stop it. Because if you're ESPN, why would you not do it? Why wouldn't you?
Yep.
Like I
well,
couldn't see a
the
reason not
thing
to do
is,
it.
honestly, like you can say that ESPN creates content that's better than anybody else, like the talk shows and all that kind of stuff, but that's just a function of capital. They have the resources to do so, and they didn't start out that way. It wasn't like day one
No,
that,
absolutely not.
but they developed the industry. They grew with it, right? Which is great. I mean, they've done wonderful things. As inexperienced as I am in traditional sports, um, it's clear that ESPN has kind of pioneered the broadcasting of traditional sports. But at the same time, like there's no denying that if they're gonna do anything for esports and it's gonna look better than anybody else, it's because they've done this before. They have the resources. They have the capital. Um, the real play is whether or not they partner up and with, like you said, with anybody,
Oh,
and
yeah.
get the contents right. Like if we see an ESPN Valve like partnership where ESPN is the like
Well,
exclusive
we were okay, but
broadcaster
we
of
already saw that with Blizzard and Heroes of the Storm. I just like they're gonna do more with that. I think we're gonna see more. Like,
hold
but
on, what do you mean?
the Heroes of the Dorm, sorry, was exclusive. If you remember, it was on ESPN like 3 or whatever that crappy thing was. But
Yeah,
uh,
but who's to say that they're gonna do that again? Like not heroes. I mean with something that
but it
matters.
who like that thing. Heroes is crappy, but they got
That's
to test. They got to say, hey, you know what? Here is a little bit of this. See how people look. Can we? Because remember, Blizzard went and bent over backwards and changed their game's UI so it could be on television because they had to make it more television friendly. Someone in the chat brought up pay per view. I feel like pay per view is not practical in this day and age.
That won't
Like,
fly in our industry.
like I don't know.
uh
I
I
I
wouldn't
like
I
people.
wouldn't be too quick to say, honestly. It's not something that I put past ESPN.
Hold on, okay, but like I like pay per view personally from a business perspective. I like pay per view. From a content perspective, it's hard. It's so hard, like because our industry has been, like there's nothing you. I don't think there's a value add
Let
to
me put it
saying
this
that
way.
we have it when you can get
Our
it so much for
our
free.
our industry pretty much has pay-per-view, just not in the traditional way.
No,
The
it's
international
selective.
happens. When the international happens, people don't spend fucking $10 on a compendium. They spend $200 on a compendium. It's pay-per-view as we know it, in esports at least, is pay what you'd like more than it is, pay $7 to
Yeah,
watch
but
something.
But
that's
that's
not
fine,
something.
right?
Yeah, that's not something you tell ESPN though. What are they? They're not going to be start making compendium. Oh, maybe they will. I like. Who knows? I. I.
I don't think that they will. What I do think that they'll do, and I firmly believe that they won't go with the pay-per-view route. I believe that they're just going to start buying up content pieces, making it so that you can only watch it on ESPN website or channels, and they're going to start selling ad space. It's the
No, that's
ESPN
the thing. I don't
model.
think ad space is. I don't even think it's ad. the ad space. Like, especially on their website, I don't think it's gonna be the ad space. They can't. They're not gonna make
I
a
didn't
ton
say
of
on their
money.
website. I'm saying just like
Oh, you
on
mean
the
like?
overlays and like as like a
Oh, you
stream
mean during? Oh, you
sponsorship.
mean like a stream
Yeah,
sponsorship?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I could see that. I could
And
see
then
that
just
being a
like they
thing.
sell like Super Bowl commercials and whatever, that's you don't fix it if it ain't broke. Like
Okay, so on the last part of this subject, I think because I know I don't want to make this a full ESPN episode, but one of the key things I don't think anyone did you guys notice today? ESL made an announcement that their two are going to be pushing to television. When did everyone suddenly want to run to television? I didn't understand when this became a thing, but everyone suddenly is gearing up their, Blizzard
they
is talking about they're going to push their MLG assets to television,
they
and now
want those
ESL.
they want the cable TV contracts,
It's
the
done.
Rogers
Like,
the
oh,
Rogers dollars.
it's
They
so
want the
frustrating.
they want the
It's
Rogers dollars. Oh no, my camera.
it's so frustrating. Like I think I find television such a frustrating medium for people to try to develop for, and I think I thought we agreed back in 2014 or 13 or whenever it is when Twitch was kept. We're like, we don't need television, and obviously there's a bit of ignorance on my part because um, we're.
It's not
I
a
think we've
need.
been I think we've been doing just fine from a live streaming perspective. The future is moving towards live streaming, a bit of a convergence on every device that you can think of. The chase
Look,
for
look,
television feels like it's over. Why?
look,
Yeah.
And
honestly, doing just fine, maintaining the status quo. I mean,
oh
that's like,
no!
I mean, come on. I mean, I'm sure people were doing fine with swords until the first gun came around.
Oh,
Like, it's
God.
doing just fine doesn't mean you stop.
But it's not moving forward. There are
Yeah,
technologies.
that's moving backwards, if
Not
anything.
That's maybe different.
necessarily.
It's
Not
moving
it.
backwards.
Not necessarily. We
It's not a
won't know
frontier.
until. No, no, no. I'm not saying television's the final frontier. I'm not saying we've arrived.
Eh,
All I'm saying is, if you turned on the TV, if you could legitimately watch esports on TV, on a channel that's broadcasted, it could improve the quality of your experience. It could. I know that it would make for us going to a bar and just flipping to channel 6, it would be a lot easier than trying to get Twitch up on televisions.
Oh
It's a
my.
matter of
No
of
way.
catering to the existing infrastructure more than anything to
Jesus.
me.
It's not even like I. Oh my
I,
goodness. Like I'm so flabbergasted I can't even breathe. It's like, oh no, like you're right in a sense. That, yes, there's a level of there are two things. Nagadalok tweeting saying that it's not for like I'm too forward thinking that the end goal television and for esports and YouTubers should be those television dollars. I get it. When you produce television stuff, there's a lot of money in it, but we're already scaling to that level. Like we're
yeah.
the amount of money that is getting put into an esports production has like has bloomed out drastically where it was even 3 to 4 years ago. The amount of spend that we're seeing, it's just
Yeah, but it's not about
these
the amount of
productions.
spend. It's more about the amount of return. It's not.
Wouldn't it be higher ROI on online content as opposed to television? Like, I
No,
feel like
no,
it
no, no,
costs
no.
a lot
No,
more.
no,
Like,
It does. You're right.
no.
No, it does cost a lot more, and the ROI. You would at a first glance you'd be like, oh, the ROI from television must be lower because it's a higher production. But the thing is, there's so many different revenue pieces in television. There's carrier fees. There's ad spend. In some regards, like it's just the models and the money spend for say for example when you subscribe, let's say for a subscriber you spend like $30-40 and everybody in a television model pays
that's
for that
cheap.
content. Well, I just talked about a basic package. Like
Yeah.
I haven't bought television in a long time, but I'm assuming some people have
Oh
basic.
no! If you want the esports, you need to get the advanced super ultra package, which is $70 a
That's what I
month.
mean.
Plus,
And that
we'll
money
add ESPN esports for $8 a month.
and that money is given to the broadcasters too. Like
Yeah.
there's carrier shares, right? So there's other monies that we don't see here on the
Oh yeah.
online model, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Well,
it's and the spend per dollar in terms
the
of advertising in television is super much like our
the
highest
reason
ad spend is the minimum in television.
Look, the thing is, with television, it's also a lot easier for them to make money because if you ask people, how many televisions are there in North America? How many homes own a television, right? As opposed to how many people are you going to reach? Because even on TV,
I don't
it's
even
like
buy that though, because that
because
you're right. That was the chief number, but now we're talking about how many cell phones, because we're in a mobile first world now. Everybody is tuning on mobiles, and I'm sure Twitch,
oh,
in its
I ha-
infinite wisdom, can tell us how many people are tuning in via mobile. Like
let,
that
let
has to be
me
the answer.
let me just put it this way. I have to agree with Nagata because you're way ahead of yourself. We are entertainment consumption is not a mobile generation yet. I'm sorry to say.
Ah!
I'm
Really?
I'm I'm sorry to say most people still watch Twitch on their computer, not on their phone.
No,
Primary.
I dispute that. I dispute. I don't
What?
have any numbers, but that is.
Oh
I
my
still
god.
believe. No, I believe that
Can we
ultimately.
get these numbers? Like, I feel like that's readily accessible.
We can tweet at Twitch. Somebody tweet at Twitch right now and ask them if more people watch Twitch on a browser or on a mobile device. And
I'm
I guarantee you that they're even the amount of apps that they have installed. You take the numbers straight from the iOS store and from the Google Play Store and from the App Store. I guarantee. Oh, well, I think we lost them. Yep, rip Drekken.
Oh, see this. I guess this
Wonder
would never have happened on television.
one. No, this would not have happened on television.
This would never happen
And
on television.
and to finish my point, the number of people that have downloaded the Twitch apps, whether it's on Android or BlackBerry or iPhone or whatever, I guarantee you it's not even close to the amount of people that watch Twitch on a daily basis from a browser. Not even
okay.
Oh my
close.
Listen,
gosh.
I'm inclined to believe you on that, but where I kind of stand on this whole television thing and where I agree with Drekken is that if you look at the amount of people who've been cutting the cord, cutting the cable, whatever the saying is, like not having a television subscription, it's the younger generation. And if you look at the people who are consuming the most Twitch content, it's also the younger generation. Like it's the same overlap. So if they're trying to cater to us, we're not going to be watching on television. So if you're trying to get my grandmother to watch,
Hearthstone. Get your grandmother to watch some Hearthstone.
yeah, if Nanda's going to watch some Smash Bros or some Hearthstone, then sure. But I just don't see why
Look at that, Trekken.
for us being
Almost
on
a
television.
third. That's almost. You know how much a
Where,
third
where
is
did you get?
compared to half?
Where'd you see that? Did you pull up some
It's
stat
an
from Twitch?
any key exclusive directly from Twitch. There you
Okay.
go.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Oh, I think.
So is somebody keeping a score? I believe that's 7,924 Tamir, 2
Oh
Drek.
shit. So okay. So while I was busy getting my camera, so what did we come to the conclusion that it's what a third, one third of people?
Less than a third.
That's not
Almost
good.
a third.
Oh Jesus. Okay. Whatever.
Listen,
Let's
we are
let's.
not a mobile consumption generation. You might be
Oh my goodness.
because of your BlackBerry fetish, but but
The shots.
but
Riddles
I'm
bullets.
sorry to burst your bubble. We are definitely not a mobile entertainment consumption generation. Not even close.
Oh Jesus.
Don't get me wrong. News, for example, reading like newspaper and articles and stuff like that, absolutely mobile, 100% hands down. Nobody reads that on
Honestly,
a browser. That's a toilet
Okay.
seat kind of activity.
We'll leave it at that. I'll concede.
Well, you have no
I'm gonna
choice. The numbers have been presented.
concede, and
Cornered.
let's see. This is why I talked to this one first. I should have left this last. But oh well. Um.
We
Oh
never get out of
jeez.
here.
I know. Let's
Let's
move
move
on to
on.
Vulcan. Let's move on to Vulcan. We'll come back into this in the end part. Okay, so Vulcan. For those of you who've been following my gambling spree, I don't gamble, but we talk a lot about gambling. Vulcan, who raised like 12 million at some point last spring, has laid off like a quarter of their staff. What are we looking at? 55 members of their staff. So
Doesn't that thing kind of run itself though? What do you need staff for?
you just turn it on and people just start gambling all day and that's it.
I figured once it's up and running, then
That's it.
and
You leave the
oh,
hamster in the
you just
wheel
need
and then
one person to keep creating those events that they have or whatever, right? And then that's it. Like,
I think you know what it is. I think it's super audacious of these companies to, and I'm gonna just I might be jumping ahead of myself, but I think it's super audacious for these companies to have thought that they could get away for a very long time by suggesting what they were doing wasn't gambling. So
when did they suggest that?
have you never seen a FanDuel commercial where they've said this it's not gambling, it's a game of skill. over a game of chance. Like there's some television commercials about it where they say in their
Really?
commercial explicitly. Yeah, they have like Seth Rogen in it and everything.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
It's
lying is not unusual. It's, I mean,
anyways,
I
they
agree with
lay
you though.
them
I will
off.
say that it's definitely gambling. Like there's no, yeah, it's gambling. People are losing money. It's gambling. Oh, Draken's gone again. Rip Draken.
Oh, yep. Oh,
Hello?
there we
Hey.
go.
Oh, rip. Well, I don't know what's going on with the webs. We should have produced this on television. That was the
Have
answer.
you have you tried
Um,
unplugging it and plugging it back in?
no, I have not tried that.
Well, then I'm
Uh,
all out of solutions for you.
it's just goodness. Um, I think, and I'm hoping everyone can hear me clearly. I think when it
Yeah.
comes to Vulcan and where they are in the space, like, can someone correct me if I'm wrong? But hasn't traditional sports been doing fantasy sports for like a
Forever,
good part of a decade? Like,
Yeah.
forever. Oh yeah.
so what I don't understand is why in esports did we run into this blockade where suddenly we have people operating illegally? Um, like I'm under the guise is that people thought it was an
Oh no.
unregulated industry.
Now he's a
Uh,
robot.
well, you know what?
Yeah.
Someone's probably doing something on my internet line. I'll discover it at some point. Um,
You're okay
Well,
now.
okay, just to elaborate on what you're getting at, I
Yes,
think
let's consult an expert.
I think the reason that some of this is kind of going done illegally is because of the legal fees, the lawyers, the papers, all that crap that needs to get done in order to have it legitimized. So they kind of need to do some fishy things. They need to walk some questionable lines to kind of maybe fund themselves and then get it legitimized. Yes, traditional sports has been doing this forever. They've got around gambling laws, or they've abided by the gambling laws, however it is that they're doing it.
They pay their
Um,
gambling law fees.
so
yeah,
essentially,
they paid their fees, they paid their whatever it is that's required, and then even still to some of they're just like, oh, we'll do the fantasy sports for you, but how you deal with the money has to be in real life. We're not going to handle it. We'll just tell you how many points you
so
get,
so
right?
essentially though, what we saw is like in traditional sports, they paid their dues, did their thing, and made their life happen. So esports, fantasy sports, try to skirt around that. I expect that from Vulcan, who's new, but how did FanDuel think that would be okay? That's what that confuses me. I don't know how FanDuel, who already has, is apparently I guess really one of the top dogs in that space, when they moved to esports was like, oh, it should be fine if we don't do because esports isn't a sport, or I don't know what their mentality was at the time, but
So,
it seems
sorry,
really off to me.
Bear said something that was interesting. So with fantasy sports websites like Real Sports, um, do the websites, the fantasy websites, pay out at all, or is that like something that strictly does not happen?
There's a mixture of both, I believe. I believe that there's strict. You can go to a Shoppers Drug Mart and put money on what? Oh my God, I should know what the name is. It's pro something. You go and you put the money on who you think's gonna win, and then you get
Oh, like that
winnings
scratch
based on the
ticket
odds.
looking thingy.
It's in the same category, right? It's all there. And then there's fantasy sports, and that's how. And like there's a variety of different websites, a million different ways to do it. My understanding is that fantasy sports is when it's like the website just generates points for you, generates a score, and then if you want to gamble on that with among your friends, if you say like winner has to touch a urinal, like however you want to do it, you make your own rules, but that's kind of my understanding of it.
Now, is that
Uh,
is that a common bet?
Uh,
That the winner has to touch a urinal, or
well,
those are the bets I
I
make.
always imagine Josh as like a frat boy. So these are the kind of things I imagine that he does in his time at university, where he is clearly touching urinals. To, I don't know. It's really I think it's super irresponsible of these companies to have thought it would have been okay for them to do it. But I'll be honest, I don't know that depth in terms of how fantasy sports, like regular fantasy sports and the
Well,
esports.
there's two. Like that's what we're getting at, right? There's two. There's the fantasy, which is kind of like your own rules, and you have a score, right?
Well, there's a
So
professional level of
from from
fantasy.
a from a legal standpoint, it's just a score that's generated. That like you have X amount of points because you guessed this much right. And then there's straight up gambling where it's like 10-1 odds. I'm putting this much money. I
Right.
get this
That
much back.
that's what's it called? That's like pro line, right? Is that what they're
Yeah.
called?
Pro line, that's what it was called.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there we
That's
go. Pro line.
yeah. Okay,
either
props
way,
to Nagata Lock for being in
for
our
throwing out
corner
the
tonight.
throwing out
Yeah.
throwing out the well, Nagadalak, we probably should have had him as a guest because he is much more. He's probably my closest friend that knows anything about real sports, like legitimately. But let's leave this gambling in the back because I don't think when we've talked so much about on this show about gambling and its situation. Like I feel like this has been exposed. Like bottom line is laws were passed and the gambling rights was like, you need to give us our piece or you need to get out of here. And those fees I imagine are probably pretty high. But if you're giving out $10 million to people in terms of prize pool, which is what they said, $10 million paid out in prize pool for answering, or guessing correctly. I guess there's some skill to it, but I'm gonna call it guessing.
Well, it's kind of like
Then
Hearthstone, right?
just like Hearthstone, easy peasy.
Yeah.
Your life isn't even in your own control.
Couple of good
Just like
guesses
Hearthstone.
and you win.
Away you go. Okay, let's move on to the last piece of news and then into our discussion point. Hopefully, we can make this all fit in. Genesis 3, the third iteration of the Smash series Genesis just happened this weekend. I do remember when Genesis 1 happened, and I didn't watch it, but I remember it was a big deal then. And now this one is currently dubbed the highest, or no, the largest Smash dedicated Smash tournament. Period.
Does anybody else feel like these just keep happening? Like the biggest Smash tournament ever just keeps happening?
Yeah. Is anyone else like?
So it's like we're really in just like a record-breaking phase here for Smash. We're discovering its limits. But like,
I'm gonna say it, and I would be I would come out and say it that Smash is like right now, and it's the Lady Gaga of esports, right? She's out there. She's
evocative.
She's very provocative, right? She's out there. She's rubbing.
Yep,
she's making those
wearing meat suits, bluffing with the muffin. That's
right? Like everyone wants her right now. Everyone loves Lady Smash. Everybody wants a little bit piece of this. Everybody I'm talking about, everybody who's doing events and stuff is like, we gotta do Smash. We gotta do Smash. It's funny, and this is what I think this was important for this show. Is I'm curious to know how profitable do you think Genesis was? Because we're going to talk about investing. How profitable do you think Genesis was? Because we've had discussions about amateur tournaments not being very profitable. Do you think Genesis...
Hold on. Genesis doesn't sound like an amateur tournament.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay. It hasn't... It's not an amateur
biggest event if it's the biggest event in Smash, it's not amateur. Like
okay, all right. I'll mix that point. Okay, so it has the open concept where it's grassroots. Everybody.
All Smash events have that though, except for like
yes,
Summit,
absolutely.
I guess.
Yes, absolutely. That's the standard Smash thing.
Beyond the Summit, that is not.
Okay, well, I'll target you, Tamir. By your definition of esports, does Smash make it into that bracket?
Okay. So, do I think that Genesis was a successful Smash event, both like not just oh my god, all these people watching and participating, like financially? I think that Genesis was a successful event. I think that they made money and did good.
You think they made money?
And then
I
think they made money. I don't think they made a lot of money, but I think they made money and they did good. And I'll say it for a Smash event. Compared to what just like the most recent Dota tournament just happened, Star Ladder I-League, not by any means the most prestigious Dota tournament on the planet, not the biggest prize pool. I would, without a doubt, I would say Star Ladder I-League that just happened over the last weekend made a significantly larger amount of money than Genesis.
Why do you think that is?
Because they had something like, I think it was like 18,000 spectators or something like that.
This had okay. Well, never mind. I would say I was with to throw the
So
spectator number in this, but like it's nowhere close to 18,000.
yeah,
Do you have the number?
for
Well,
Genesis, it was
Genesis was 3,000. 3,000.
That's still
people.
impressive, yeah.
Impressive for Smash.
Yeah, no, that's the that's the second half of that sentence.
So to answer the question, does it make it into the esports ringer? Almost,
It's getting there.
almost, but no. Like,
Does anyone know what the prize pool is? What is it?
like Hearthstone is still closer to being an esport than Smash.
I mean, but we're seeing Smash with consistent growth, especially over the last years, especially.
Okay.
I mean, it's
okay,
it's
so,
a slow climb, but it's
so
climbing.
so it's impressive numbers. When you put it in percentage wise, you can say like, for example, they went from 1,500 people to 3,000 people. Like they doubled 100%. Like that's or
Right.
200%. Like wow, that's big. When you consider the fact that it was only 1,500 people in difference, and Dota fills 40,000 people stadiums, not that big. League of Legends, 50, 60,000 people stadiums,
I guess when you
these,
put up,
these things work on an exponential scale, though, right? Like,
well, no, on a percentage scale, it looks good. On an actual numbers scale, it's not that impressive.
no,
Leave
I
it-
agree.
leave
But
it
I'm
to-
saying, I'm
leave
saying
it
if
to
they
Junior to
got,
bring the real hammer of like
Look,
reality
sorry.
down.
It's.
I'm saying if they got
it's
3,000
great
this year,
Smash. That's all. Like, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Josh.
no, all I'm saying is if they get 3,000 this year, next year they might get 10,000. Like, it's not going to go as
Whoa.
linearly as. No, I'm just saying it's not. If it's truly growing, if there's truly something there, it's not going to be as linear as you're making it, right? Like Dota kind of exploded, right? Like it's slow for a little bit, then money pumped in, and then bam.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one,
Yeah.
but like Dota was like their climb was within a few
Yeah.
like a year or a year and a half, right? Like Smash has been going like Smash is older than Dota. Let's put that out.
Smash is
first.
older than Dota 1. Like,
But that's what I find impressive, right? Is that it's still
Really? You find that
growing
impressive?
for
Find
being
that
such an older
impressive.
game.
I don't know why you'd find that
Like,
impressive.
I don't know. I mean, it's a stable horse, but it's old, dude. Like,
Yeah.
it's not getting much faster. Is all I'm saying. Like, it's
Like-
it's growing for sure. We've seen a lot of growth in Smash. It's been really good. Can people really make something out of it? I mean, I'd have like it top 50,
Honestly,
top 15 games easily. Is it ever gonna break top 5? Probably not.
I
agree with you. I agree with you on that.
You know what disappoints me from just like a purely business, not like in a sort of spectator point of view. From a spectator point of view, I think Smash Melee is fantastic to watch. What disappoints me is still Smash 4 really lags because one would assume that that's where Nintendo would put more money or whatever. I'm like,
Put money.
what? If
Nintendo
they
doesn't
put money.
yeah.
They didn't.
That's-
That's what I mean. That's the point. They didn't put any money, and Nintendo continues not to put any money.
Like,
They
let me
do
put
they
it
do it
this
once
way.
in a while, but they're so skittish about it. But if
Like-
Nintendo is going to invest in their infrastructure and their event, they're only going to do it to Smash 4. They're not. You'll never like. I don't see them saying we're going to throw $1 million Melee tournament from Nintendo. You'll never see that.
No,
You know.
you won't. And that's the thing. Like, Smash has been around forever, and the reason that it's steadily grown but never exploded is because Nintendo never got behind it. And if Nintendo ever did get behind it, it would be behind Smash 4. But honestly, Nintendo getting behind
know.
anything as an esport it's a dead dream. Like, it's a pipe dream. And there's not even a light at the end of the pipe anymore. Like, if the light's out, like, Nintendo turned that one off. They were like, nope, never happening.
Like, Nintendo
So-
did do a bit of like a little posture with Smash 4 when it released, and they did a bit of a tournament. But I do agree with you where they're very flirtatious with the idea, where they're like, yeah, we think this is a thing. We acknowledge it now because we have to, but we don't like it.
I don't know. I think that if anything, Nintendo actively just discourages it from it being
I
an
agree.
active
I think
esport.
so
Like,
too. I think from a publisher, they discourage it. They like, we don't want people to see Donkey Kong beating up, Lumina, Princess Peach. We don't want them to have those visions on the grand stage. We want people to think of them as our friends, and we're playing with them in a party setting. So I do feel that Nintendo proper is probably not impressed with how
See,
it
that,
goes.
that's the thing, and it's all left to the community to do, right, or to independent organizers in the community. And then at every opportunity, Nintendo turns around and shuts them down. So it's like, no,
I think you and I had the discussion about it that if Nintendo was Valve, we would have seen Project M on that stage instead. If Nintendo was Valve, they would have abandoned Smash 4, purchased the right for Project M, and just published it as is.
If Nintendo wanted it to be the case, they would have just taken it and put it on every Wii U. They'd just been like Wii U software update, and then it would have Project M in it, and it'd be like, there you go. Now everybody can play it. It's an esport now. It's like,
We'll leave it at that.
yeah.
Honestly, none of us are Smash experts, with Josh being
Like
the closest, and that's
I'm
unfortunate.
happy. I'm
That's
happy that
far from an
Genesis.
expert.
I'm happy that Genesis happened. I think that it's a great thing for the Smash community. It's really great to see them finally get some like really solid events with really great turnout that look really good.
The venue looked beautiful. Oh,
That looked really good, and I'm sure it was super fun to be there and to participate, and I'm sure that they all loved it, and I hope that they get another one just as good and better. Is it like, you know how we have that like esports needle, that like odometer, like, you know, and like, you know, like esports is going full steam ahead, and you see like League of Legends making like giant pushes in the needle, and like Dota's making giant pushes in the needle, and like CS:GO is like, you know, really making a difference these days in like the like landscape of esports. Like, did Genesis make a giant dent in the landscape of esports? It's like it's like, I'm not sure if Genesis made a difference or if somebody coughed on the needle. That's the problem. Like, it's like it happened. Something happened. It was like, like there was something there. Like 100,000 people watched something. That's like nothing. I mean, like 3 million people watched TI. You want to tell me that 100,000 people watching Genesis is a big deal? Like,
Delk, I want you to make note that the first purchase for the esports house is a needle. A needle. Please make note that this is the absolute first prop that we need to make when we have the studio to do the NE. A needle that has esports and not esports.
You know what I'd love to see? I'd actually love to see a graph of like year by year viewership on like Twitch, because that's where most of the important stuff is, at least.
And ESPN soon.
Of just like like total, how many people were watching esports on Twitch total every year, and then I'd like to see which games contributed to that amount, like total, like unique viewerships.
I think they publish that at the end of the year, don't they? I'm pretty sure they
maybe. I'd love to see it, but it's probably like, I'd say 40 or 50 million unique viewers every year on Twitch. It's got to be something like that.
Probably higher, I imagine.
And at this year, probably, yeah. For 2015, probably, yeah. And then how many of those people were from Smash? And then that really
that'd be such a rude number to publish.
there's your number, though. No, I'm saying like for every game, like how many people, how many unique viewers for Dota watched, how many unique viewers for League of Legends, for CS:GO.
I think we went over this, and World of Tanks was ridiculously in a weird spot.
Yeah, but a full like unique viewer for the full year would give you a much better read. And then like, how many unique viewers did Smash have?
Okay, let's try to find that I will try to find out for the next episode. That's a really interesting question, and I'd like to discuss it. Let's move on to our discussion topics, so we're not here all night. But I think we've touched on Genesis. So let's put the discussion topic. I'm going to actually do something interesting. I'm going to open up some of the discussion topics to our audience. We actually have a good amount of audience having little discussions on Twitter, that being the Godlock, and a few people discussing the chat. But discussion topic today is and let's start in 2016, we're in this new year, where are some of the best sectors of esports to invest? Where would you invest in esports? I gave you, X amount of money. Where is I would say 2015 was the year of the gambling. A lot of people ran there. Like, that was the sector everyone was investing in.
Okay.
2016, what do you predict is the next sector of esports where we'll see some investment?
I know it.
Oh,
I know it. I know it.
Do you know mine? Is that what you're saying?
No, I know mine.
Oh, okay. Josh, since you're eager, tell me, where do you think in 2016 people are going to be investing in?
I think this is going to be the year.
Oh my God!
For consolidated news, and we talked about this to death for the last hour and a half now. But this whole like ESPN thing, I just being like, okay, so if you look at the industry, like where all these like big things are, like the year of this, year of that. I mean, they're not official, but we can kind of look at them and say like, oh, this is a big topic. Like last year was definitely the year of gambling, at least in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
All these things are coming from sports. It's like, what does sports do that we haven't done yet? Oh, gambling. Yeah, let's do gambling. So I
And
think the
that's what I was
biggest
trying
thing.
to link to. It's like I was trying to think like that's what a lot of people who are investing in the space, they're using like, okay, what does sports have that's not already in esports? Let's do that.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I think that's the biggest thing right now is it's kind of hard to follow esports. I mean, if you're not in the know, if you're not heavily invested in the games you care about, if you kind of want to look at the scene as a whole, kind of top down, see what's going on, there's nothing that's easily accessible for the masses. And I think we're seeing it right now. Like Twitter Gaming just had an account. This ESPN thing. I guess the Score eSports to a lesser extent trying to pick up their game. I mean, they started off a couple years ago, but still, I think this is gonna be the year to see who can get the most coverage, who can have the best news stories, who can consistently.
Hmm.
I think you're talking. What the word you're looking for is traction. Who can gain the most traction,
Yeah,
right? Who snowballs the hardest
You
in
think that's
terms of
gonna be
news coverage?
you think that's gonna be the space race of 2016? That's an
I
interesting.
I think I just I'll let you guys
No, no,
go.
okay. Well,
But
let's
I
go
say,
on. Let's go. Let's all say our piece, and then we'll discuss it in a little bit. Tamir, what do you think the esports space race of 2016 will be?
I think it's going to be teams, teams and branding. Actually,
Really,
I think that yeah, it's one area in esports that is grossly underdeveloped, um,
really?
where teams,
Like,
sponsorship, contracts. Yeah, because one thing that traditional sports has quite heavily that esports doesn't is home bases for teams. Not just like the city that the teams reside in. Obviously, that's a big one, but um, there's a lot more culture and following and loyalty behind teams in traditional sports that there isn't in esport. Like in esports, it's more centered around players, individuals, personalities, celebrities than it is about like, oh yeah, I love this team and why should that be your favorite team? And I think that 2016 is going to be a year where um, teams and brands really develop more of their identity and their what would you call it, character, and the value in that, and how they can
do you think
basically
that
become
you see? Do you think we're gonna see a lot of spend there though? We're gonna see like a lot of people, like big money people,
yes.
dropping money on teams, like
Yes, actually, we've already seen the beginnings of it. Teams
in
like
League of
what is it?
Legends. In League of
Yes,
Legends, we've
well
seen that.
that's the place to start, right? For sure. If I were investing in esports, and I didn't know anything about esports, and I was investing in esports, that's where I'd go.
Do you
Like
think though? Do you think teams are a big money maker? Like I don't know. I
I had
question.
not
Like I'm not gonna. You know.
that's exactly what I'm trying to get at. I don't think that they are right now, but I believe that they can be.
yes,
Ooh.
I agree
And
with you on
that's
that.
that's why I say that that this is going to be that year because esports has finally gained enough critical mass for people to try and make money off of things and I think that the biggest asset in esport is not actually tournaments or independent labels or titles or events. Um, it's teams. Teams are the most valuable
You
asset.
just sent shivers down my spine because at first I was in the mindset I was like, oh, teams, like teams are such a loss leader. Like you make such crap money off
Not
of
in
teams.
traditional sports they aren't.
No, and
Oof,
that's what. But the thing is, like esports.
those are the
Okay, you
cash
know what?
cows.
I'm gonna. We'll go back around again. But I had some thoughts on that. And I'm gonna say mine. So, Bear, I actually originally thought you were gonna say mobile. Like I really did. I thought you were gonna be like
No,
mobile esports is a thing.
no.
This is where everyone's investing in. I thought you were gonna say that, but you didn't. So you surprised me. Tamir, I don't know what I thought you were gonna say. I don't know why I thought you were just say you're gonna say Dota. Um,
It's like
like,
you don't even know me, honestly. It hurts so much. Like, don't get me wrong. I love Dota. Like, most of the time, when you think I'm like AFK or not listening to you, it's probably because of Dota. But like,
I
man,
think. Okay, hold on. So I think in 2016, the rush, and we don't see any signs of it yet, but I feel it. I feel it in my bones. It's gonna be arenas, and Doug posted it up, so he ruined my surprise. But I think the arenas and the venues. I think venues is gonna be the next big rush. and this is going to be from current like regular sport venue owners are either going to invest in their current infrastructure or they're going to build other infrastructure for esports. I feel it. I feel that you're going to see these venues crop up. We already have the MLG stadium, the MLG studio or state. I think they call it a stadium. I don't know. They call it an arena. Sorry, the MLG arena.
There's another
Gfinity
one. What's it called? Esports Arena? What's it called?
esports arena. I
Yep.
think I think those venues they haven't done it yet, but somebody is gonna get wind. Someone
Okay.
like legit is gonna get wind,
So
and they're gonna they're gonna start seeing like, okay, these venues are the thing we need to be building.
hold on. So
So
let me back up your point right there and say that when somebody, we won't name names, mainly because I don't know his name, invested in Virtus Pro, when they dropped like some
Oh my
absurd amount of, what was it,
goodness.
like 200 million or something ridiculous
something ridiculous. Yes.
in Virtus Pro, the first thing they did was build the Virtus Pro Arena. And this is something that traditional sports has had forever.
Wait, did they actually build that? Did they actually,
Yes.
or did they just talk about that?
I'm pretty sure that it's happening. Like, I'm pretty sure it's either way. Talk about it or do it. The first place that they go is arenas, and this is where I say I agree with your point, but in the context of teams. Traditional sports, all these teams have had their own arenas forever now, practically, and that's something
That's
that's gonna happen.
That's
I
a
think
huge
for esports,
that's a huge cash thing for them too. They make a lot of
it
money
is. Oh yeah,
from
those
their
seasonal tickets. Ooh,
No, it's not even that. It's the boosts, those the high end boosts that they give for corporate
the,
sponsors.
the seasonal tickets are kind of lost leaders. I was honestly just kidding, but
Oh.
like most people don't even use them. Like they just buy them and then,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
it's like
which
a
is
gym. It's
great
like a
for
gym
business.
membership. It's like
Yeah.
a gym membership for
Exactly.
for sports, right?
Which is great for business, but like it's not your
No,
cash cow either way.
no.
No. But the interesting thing is that those arenas don't exist yet, and we're starting to see more and more events around the world. And there's those arenas are going to crop up, but I firmly believe that they're going to crop up in the context of teams and organizations, like the Navi Arena, the Virtus Pro Arena, the EG Arena, the
Ooh, that's an
yeah
interesting twist.
yeah
Sorry,
home,
but
hometown defenders and
most of these arenas that we're seeing or that we have to date, not necessarily esports, but in general, are kind of like corporate sponsors, kind of sponsors who just buy arenas
Okay,
and then you
yeah,
can pay to host
they don't.
events there, right? Like,
The
why
corporate.
would
Hold on.
that's it.
The corporate sponsors though they don't own the arena. Someone actually owns the arena and they just sponsor their name, like the Staples Center and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, that's fine, but why would
Yep.
you want like why would you front that cost as like as a team, right? Like, why would I want the EG arena
I didn't say they would. I said that that's how the team's going to make their money.
I think that
through? Okay.
I
okay.
don't believe that any team is going to build this arena just like
I
in
think you know what it is though. I think that, and I don't know if I think that a team. I think they're gonna. I don't think a team will build an arena. I think what you'll see a combination where teams will latch onto maybe
Yeah.
arena. I don't know. Like I don't know how because we're not very geographical in terms of esports. We're very international,
Oh,
and so
that
I'm not.
depends. That depends. If you're League of Legends, then you are very geographical.
Okay.
Or if
Yes.
you're
All right.
StarCraft now, you are very geographical. And
Okay.
even in a very international game like Dota, all of the best teams are relatively geographical. EG, for
Okay.
example, Virtus Pro, Navi,
Okay. Okay. I'll bite for that.
Alliance.
I just think that what we'll start seeing from a perspective of venues like Cineplex, I think is sniffing around it. Like Cineplex is dancing with the flame, where they're like, all right, we already have this, and we have this infrastructure already. I think they did. I think they did it incorrect, but they have the right idea. It's like we have this infrastructure. Let's turn it for esports, and I think that we're gonna see the venue owners of traditional venues think like that, and they're gonna make the dash, and then suddenly you're gonna have a cascading effect where people who own stadiums are gonna be like, all right, I made this venue for this EG. You should attach your name to it. The EG Arena. I'll run the venue. You
Yep.
be attached to it.
You just get some money.
Let's make some money together.
Yep.
You know.
That's exactly what I was saying about teams and it being the year of teams. Is like there's going to be a lot of that for teams. Venues is one aspect of it, but there's going to be a lot of that stuff. We already saw Fnatic and their product lineup. Like
Well, okay, that was gonna be my next thing, but I don't think that's gonna happen in 2016. I think that's way off for the merchandising,
Really?
the merchandising gold rush. I don't think we're gonna
That's
see.
part of. Would that not be
What?
part of what Tamir said? That'd be
It
part
is.
of branding. And
It is,
establishing
but
a team.
yeah,
he's
I guess
saying
like,
that that's not going to happen. I'm saying that it is.
I mean, that needs to
I
happen,
don't
right?
I don't see it from my perspective that will be the main. Like I think from a merchandising perspective, we still do it really poor, and I don't think anybody in this year, maybe next year or the year after, is going to really catch on to it. It's like, all right, you know what, we need to be selling, no, $90 Navi shirts. This is the what's that place? Lids, Lids that
Yep.
sell hats. Like when one year we're going to see a store that just sells nothing but esports apparel. That's it. That's all it sells. Is like all the jerseys from every possible team you could think of
See,
will
I think that would
be.
help. I would think that's one of the only ways you could get your brand, or not the only way, but one of the best ways you can build your brand is to have merchandise, right? Like if I had,
I think
if
that's
No,
I
look,
the exact
like
opposite.
really,
no,
if I had my teams and mouse pad like sit on my desk, that's like a constant reminder, like, oh, these are the guys I represent. This is my team. This is my
no.
shit.
You have to have your brand established. You can't like be
Yeah.
a shitty
No,
team
I'm not saying like that.
without.
I'm not saying just that, but I'm saying that's like one like as a way to make your brand kind of
No,
bigger and market
it's how
yourself.
you
That's
no. You never like you don't make your brand bigger from that. You capitalize on your brand. You like
That's
you make more money. That's how you increase your ROI from a brand value that's already in existence, right? You're not gonna like someone wearing a Virtus Pro T-shirt isn't gonna make some other people around them being like, oh, Virtus Pro is the best team. You might start rivalries in the street where people will start fighting. That's
yep.
a possibility. And then if the news picks that up, that might grow your brand in some weird way. But like
honestly,
it's
I
it.
you have to have a strong brand before you try and get into merchandising. I don't think that's not what I meant, and I think
Okay.
that it happens the other way around, where first you build a strong brand, and then you let out the merchandising, and you can't like if you don't do it right, if you don't market it right, and you don't stagger it right, then you're gonna end up
I'm
with
telling you, this
uh, a very weak return on your investment. But that being said, I firmly believe that teams are gonna be where people try and develop the loyalty factor, try and develop the connection, the appreciation with the fans, and start investing more and just trying to get represented or affiliated with a team. Uh,
I'm still gonna go with my idea of venues only because like I would love to say merchandising. I really think merchandising is the hidden cash cow of esports, like right
of
now.
course, the
But
event organizers talking about all these venues that are gonna be
listen,
popping up.
don't bring my biases in this. Not even that.
Ugh.
It's just, venues are underserved. I think venues are completely underserved in terms of a footprint, in terms of food. Like, do you remember
Yep.
where did like last time I went to a venue, like a regular venue? I went to go buy some wine, and it was like $12 for like a swig, right? And it's like
Yep. For a while.
that for a waft of the wine, and then I was like, man, that markup is so beautiful because I
Yeah.
want wine because I'm here, but I don't want And obviously, some people just went and spent $12 anyways. It meant
Yep.
nothing to them, but
Yep.
I think that kind of on-site money is lost in the esports world. Like I
I
don't know if Genesis specifically is making any food sales. Like that I think that's money left on the table. And I
I don't
think you
think
can only like, I think that's money left on the table right there, right? So
you
it,
know what you need for venues to be really successful?
a
You
lot of
need
them.
a lot of them. No, if anything, the opposite. You need few of them. You don't need a lot. How are you gonna like? What are you gonna do with a lot of venues? More venues than you can handle. Like,
Venues for
you,
everybody.
no, you need really strong attractions, and a lot of esports right now is online. A lot of it is online, which is the only reason that I'm not so sure about venues yet. Yes, there's a use for them. Is it the gold rush for the next year of esports? I don't believe so. I don't believe that that's the case. But
Well, okay. Well, uh, Bear, what was yours again?
uh, news.
what a dumb idea.
What?
Oh,
Mine's coming based off what I'm seeing, right? Like what I see is
No,
a lot of
no.
stories are being about recently. It's about news. It's kind of weird to say. I mean, I can see the points coming from both of you. I just haven't seen any.
My own
I
my
haven't
own
seen it. I haven't seen anything like anything to make me say this will be the year for that. I agree that these are things that need to be done. I don't see any indication that that's what's going to be happening now.
The
That's
thing
what's
is,
going to be happening in 2016.
when you see it, it's already too late. It's already done.
I guess so, but like I don't know if you guys are just throwing darts at a board and like saying where it sticks, right? Like I have no
Okay.
clue.
That's a
No,
good point.
my mine was based off of what we're seeing in terms of people investing money. Where the big money in the last 6 months has come, and where it's gone, has been to teams and brands. And that's what I based mine off.
Mine's is based off of 2015 spend. So in 2015, we saw Cineplex buy World Gaming, and then we saw Gfinity partner up with I don't know the theater chain in UK. So to me, that indicates that venues, traditional venues, and I consider a theater an entertainment venue to a degree, where they're like, okay, how do we reaffirm? How do we change? How do we adapt to this era? And there are so many already established venues um, in North America that could house esports. You know what? I'm gonna put sports bars in that space too, right? Of venues. It may not be the full like stadium, but I think those are also venues, esports venues, quote unquote, where we're gonna see a lot of those people change their models to adapt, right? I really do. I think you're gonna see um, more esports bars pop up. We already have three of them trying to crawl their way into Toronto.
Wait,
None
who's
of
the
them.
third?
Oh, this I don't even know what it is. Like it's some guy that's been posting on Reddit trying to collect information on how
This
to
is called
open an
like
esports bar.
it's like trying to, because I remember I
It's
was
not open
talking.
yet. He's trying to open it. Like
No,
he's
I
asking.
know. There was another one that was called like Good Game Bar and Lounge or something like that. That
Oh,
was the
there's
third
two of
one
them. I
at
forgot.
like
Yeah, there was.
Ossington, right? Like three University of Windsor students that were thinking about or trying
So
to
that's what
open
I mean, though.
one.
This is why I think it's the year of the venue, not just the large venues, but the small venues. This is the year where people open up a whole bunch of esports bars. Like 90% of them will probably fail, but you
Oh,
know,
that's one in
but
10 succeeds is the traditional model
but
for opening any kind of
but
venue or bar.
what's gonna happen is you're gonna have people who like are the real sports bars or like Montana's and all those other franchises that have real businesses are gonna like we'll just open up a sub brand that is
Yeah.
for esports. Like that's what you're gonna. I firmly believe it that we're gonna see like a real quote unquote sports bar owner who just goes, look, I've been doing this for 10 years. What's another 10? And I'll just slap an esports an E in front of it. You know, Joe's Esports Bar and Grill. you know, bam. Brand new demographic. We're rolling in them dollars, right? I think that's gonna be the
Yeah.
the next rush. I think especially in the metropolitan cities, they're just gonna.
The-
It's tough, dude. I don't know. It's almost. I see where you're going, but it's like I
I
don't know.
feel
I
it.
It's a
think
lot.
I think he's right. Like okay, that goes back to what we kind of started the conversation with, where it's like, what are sports doing? How is sports making money? And how can we do the same thing but cater to our audience, right? And like opening up venues is definitely something that needs to happen. The issue I've been seeing, and it's consistent time and time again, it's people who are esports people first, business people second, and
Oh,
that's where we
that's the
see the
whole
failure,
theme.
right?
That's the whole
Right.
theme of our industry.
Well, hold
Right?
on, hold on,
Right.
hold on, hold on.
When you see someone who's opened up a restaurant, they opened up Montana's, Kelsey's, whatever, all those chains, and they say, oh, you know what? I want an esports bar in there. They throw one in there. Then yeah, they know what they're doing. They know how to do all the other stuff. Then they hire the people who understand the
Uh,
esports. But
Other
working the
way
other way,
around, I think actually, because what we've seen so far is that people who are business first don't make it in this industry.
I don't.
And
What?
take, are
Who do
you
you th-
kidding me?
who do you think runs ESL? Do you think it's like a 16-year-old who's like, oh man, I
You
love
think ESL
Hearthstone.
started with money?
I yeah, I think it grew because of
It
money, and I'm pretty sure it's someone who had a business mindset went and got that money because
because
that's how
I'm
you get.
saying if you take a look at companies that come in that are business first, like if Montana wanted to open up an esports bar, just like Cineplex wanted to do some esports stuff, they probably wouldn't make it. That's what I'm saying. Because
I
they
think,
don't understand, they don't get it. They're too disconnected from their audience, and it's
but
it's
you can
it's
buy
a
those people. Like you just have to buy the
yeah.
right
yeah.
people.
We've
Those
seen
people
how
you can
well that's worked
Oh,
out.
okay, but they bought like okay. Cineplex.
That's That's what
Hey,
I'm
that's their
saying.
own fault. That's
Yep,
like,
I'm not saying it's not their own
yeah,
fault. I'm saying they don't know what to buy. And
They
that's
don't know what to
exactly
buy. I
that's
agree.
fair. Yeah.
that's
That-
my point that I'm trying to make is that
I
people
agree.
with money come into this space and they're like, we're gonna do some awesome stuff, and then they buy Rotten Tomatoes and they're like, where's our awesome stuff? It's like, yeah, well,
Yeah.
you had a business mind. Congratulations. You didn't
I
understand the market
I
you were getting into, and
I
that's gonna
would
be the
say,
case for at least another year, I think.
okay. Well, if you give it a timeline, then I agree because I don't think that's
It's
always going
gonna
to be the case.
change.
It's like
I've been saying this. No, but I've been saying this forever that like it's growing pains. Like this is what happens. People see something hot, they want to get into it. They're not sure how. They're gonna make mistakes. Eventually, they're gonna stop making mistakes, right? That
absolutely.
trial
Well, we
trial
assume.
by fire here, right? Or
Sure.
trial and
Yeah.
error. It's Cineplex made that mistake. Who else? There was another one recently that was like
The biggest
anyway,
one that can come to mind is Netflix. But that being said, let's.
Cineplex.
I think we've touched on everyone's
Yeah.
idea and concept. I was hoping to get some ideas out there from our audience to throw in some concepts and ideas of where they think investing should happen in esports. Um, but I think that's let's wrap the show up and move into the final thoughts. All right, I'm gonna leave ESPN to last because I feel like some final thoughts will be. Let's do Vulcan. Final thoughts on Vulcan. Tamir.
It was a bubble that had to burst. Just too many companies trying to do the same thing between Unicorn and Fantasy, and oh my god, like so many of these like quasi or full on gamble websites that cropped up all at once with all their investment dollars and all their promises, and it's like all with the best intentions. And we're coming to the end of the race. We're gonna see which one or two of them is gonna win out in the
That
end.
didn't that didn't
Um,
last even remotely as long as I thought it might have lasted. That race.
well, you have to remember we are this, like in the internet age, everything happens much faster than it normally does because the information travels and circulates much faster than anywhere else. Um, so leave it to Reddit, basically. That's
final final
Yep.
thoughts, Josh, on Vulcan.
Survival of the fittest.
No,
You can't make it. Can't make it. That's how the
I
business
love
world
I love
works.
I love your attitude. It's like
I don't think
weak
they're
ass
dead.
company. They're pivoting, right? So they're doing
Yeah.
something.
They're all kind of shaky. I don't think that any one of them is like well to do at this point. Like as far as gambling online goes, they're we've got CS:GO Lounge and Dota 2 Lounge for that kind of stuff. Like you bet skins, you don't bet real dollars. Like anyway.
Yeah, we'll see what comes, right? Like the at the end of the day, all the scummy people are gonna kind of get pushed away, and pushed out of the industry. So, I mean, it'll fix itself. We'll reach equilibrium at some point.
My final thoughts is if you want to gamble, just play Hearthstone. That's it. You don't have to go this far.
You want to roll the dice? Play some Hearthstone.
No, a serious final thought. I don't know. I think it is like it's growing pains, and it's the pivot had to happen. I'm just surprised that they felt that like they thought they would get away with it. Like they felt that the gambling
Oh, no,
commission.
hold on. Nobody brought them to justice. It's not like there's some. It's not like they're criminals that have done something that like, aha, see, and I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you. Like, it's not like that.
It wasn't for Reddit.
No, it's not like that. It's not like don't get me wrong. It's gambling, and they can try and say that it's not as much as they want, but at the end of the day, there's only so much gambling to go around. Like,
No, I don't think so. I think the idea was the biggest problem. It's not even that's why the money is where it is. It's because they're not allowed to operate in certain states because it's illegal, and they've been locked out. Right. And that's one of some of the catalysts that we saw even like it was a couple of months ago where certain cities or states were like, nope, none of this. This is not legal. It's like the Uber case, but they're not Uber and they can't just run around the law like Uber can. Uber's like whatever, we'll do what we want. Vulcan is not so
I don't know. I think
so
I
clever.
think that if they were grossly successful, if there was a lot of users and they were doing really well as an individual website, Vulcan specifically, they would have found ways around it.
Maybe
It's
that's it.
still,
That
it
actually
it
maybe.
feels more like they're like, you know what, guys, we probably weren't doing that great anyway. Maybe it's time to move on. I don't think that Vulcan's dead by any means. I think that they've just kind of found their upper limit, and that's all it is, right? Because
Okay, well,
like I said, at the
that's
end of
fair.
the day, I keep hearing about so many of these different gambling websites. It's like and like it's great. It's a nice idea. Everybody wanted to be there first, but at the end of the day, only a handful are gonna last. We can't have like 2 dozen of these. Like it's not anyway.
I don't
Yeah.
know. People love gambling. They love it. I don't know. I
They
never
do,
understand.
but they love to gamble where other people gamble. Like you don't go to a
Yeah.
casino with 2 other people in it. Like it's you need other people there to make it happen.
Uh, okay,
So
final thoughts.
it,
Final thoughts on Genesis. Final thoughts on Genesis. Josh.
Overall, like it's good to see just more games doing well. I
Mm,
mean, obviously not to the extent of some of the bigger games in the industry, but to see a game like this, even if it's a small percentage, grow. It's just nice to see that there's some diversity in the scene.
mm. Final thoughts on Genesis. Tamir.
well, that's I don't know. That's nice. I mean, it's
That's like
that's
literally your
nice.
final.
I
Okay.
like I don't know what it that's great for the Smash community. I'm really happy for it.
Unimpressed.
Not I what
Golf clap.
I mean, there's not it's not like it's not like they revolutionized esports in doing it. Like they broke Smash records, which are still like so far behind the major esports that it's like okay.
All right, that's respectable. My final thoughts on Genesis 3. Love the venue. Finally, upgrading from being inside the bar basements. I think that's finally, bringing it above ground is a great step in the right direction.
Those were
Um,
called
I'm
basements.
I'm disappointed in them, the organizers, not standing their ground in the whole floating the bracket thing. I think if you're going to suggest an idea, you need to follow through with it. Like if you feel like it's an idea, if you have conviction behind that idea, and I know this is the final thoughts, and I probably shouldn't have introduced a new point, but that was something for me when it came to Genesis. Um, I do like how the event turned out overall. I watched some of the highlights, thing, but it feels like such a dead end because Nintendo isn't going to jump onto this anytime soon if it's not Smash 4. Like Smash 4 I don't think had the same hype from Melee. It still doesn't, probably won't. And I think, like I said, I echo what you think, Tamir, where I think the publisher has hamstrung their community to reaching the same heights as the other esports title, by its own you know reluctance. So that's my sadness. I thought it was a good event based on the highlights. Hype as always. Would have liked to saw DeBuzz win. Unfortunately, he did not. This is Smash 4. But Zero remains on top. Final thoughts. Finally, ESPN getting serious. Josh, lead us away.
I mean, I was the one who said that I think news and coverage of the industry as a whole is kind of what's going to be in 2016. I think if you are listening to this podcast, you're like, oh, maybe he's right. I mean, it's too late. The wheels are already in motion. Car's kind of rolling
It's
away.
already done. If anything,
But
if it's already been won, then it can't be the next big spend.
the question was
Oh,
vague, like what you think the
That's
next big thing is going to be. I think we're going to be hearing a lot about this. Like people had to have already invested the money, so we're going to see who else has invested the money, who's going to come up. Like ESPN released a really shitty website. Like let's be real, it's a step in the right direction. I like the format. I like how they're like planning on doing it, but like no, I'm not going to use your website until it's at least 75% ready. It's at like
why?
25% now.
Okay,
well,
hold.
you let them know, Josh. They won't have your business.
No, no, like I mean, I like to think I speak for the greater part of the community. So,
You know
Honestly,
when
I
you'll.
I went on their website, I saw traditional sports at the top, and I closed it.
I was going to ask you. That was my first question. In esports, in ESPN, can you reorganize the links? Can you, like, if you make an account and you're like, oh, I want esports to be the number one thing, like,
Huh?
can you do that? Like
What? No, it's not a
oh,
customizable UI. What the hell?
well, Reddit can do it. I can't imagine that it has to be. It's like fucking rocket science to be able to move your
Listen,
sub your thing
like
around.
yeah, but that's not ESPN service. They provide news coverage to sheeple, people who don't want their own things. They 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 get in there when people just want to turn on the channel and be like, yeah, I'm watching a game with my buddy. Like it's not.
I just want to say one thing though. It's like since Josh made that comment, I went to like I actually did not ever go to ESPN's website before until 3 seconds ago, and I found it unfortunate that I have to click one thing to be able to open up esports. Like I'm two
This
clicks away.
this
It
is
makes
this
me
is our
unfortunate.
host, people, not even visiting the
So,
website.
The thing we
I,
talked about for 45
listen,
minutes.
I listen. I read the articles. I know what to expect from
You
ESPN.
spent more time reading articles about a website than you went to the actual website.
It's like people read
Like,
all the movie reviews before they just go watch one.
Yep, that's
it's
it.
like.
Why go watch the movie? I read the reviews.
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of.
You know?
I don't know. I don't really consume content like that. But
Go
anyways,
visit France. I read an article about France. I don't need to see it.
final thoughts on
What the hell am
ESPN.
I dealing with?
Tamir, give final thoughts.
Honestly, it's I hope that they don't mess it up. They haven't gotten off to a great start in my book. I mean, a lot of people are expecting really big things because ESPN hype and all that kind of stuff. Like, everybody's like, oh, these guys do real sports. Like, they're gonna do esports now, and it's like, I don't know. We'll see. A lot of people that do a lot of normal things didn't make it so good in esports. They don't really get it. They don't know who to talk to. They're not sure who to ask. Truthfully
I think
speaking,
Amazon did pretty good. Amazon was just like, we'll just buy Twitch and leave them be.
so they didn't do anything. They just bought something that was proven successful. That's like somebody buying Reddit and being like, "Look at how good I am at making websites." It's like, well, I don't know. Like, truthfully speaking, so ESPN, they've hired some people. They're trying to create something from scratch effectively. They've hired some good, intelligent people. Hopefully, the people that they've hired, the experts that they've brought on board, aren't bogged down by the logistics and infrastructure present in current ESPN. Like if they're just like, you know what, Slasher, we brought you on board, we value your opinion, but we've been doing this a lot longer than you have, so you're gonna do what we think. Then it's gonna be rough for them to make.
Okay.
It's not gonna be the product that we all want it to be.
All right.
So hopefully
All right.
that's not the case. That's what Cineplex and everybody is done so far. Um, Hopefully that's not the case. If that's not the case and they actually let it grow, I want to say organically, and just give the people that they've hired a bit more creative direction, then it could be something really great. Do I think that's going to be the case? Absolutely not.
Mm, let
So,
it grow. Let it grow.
uh,
Um,
okay.
my final thoughts on ESPN. I honestly think I'm still gonna, despite being proven wrong. I really believe that mobile is the future when it comes to consuming content, but obviously that was incorrect. I will
With his
stand
dying breath.
I mean, a third is still like a huge portion. That's
Even,
no
okay,
number to like
even
to snuff at,
Almost
right?
almost a third, like, whatever. I lost that batch, but I still think that's the future. I feel like television is a backward step. Like, but to me, I
Look,
think the
the
two
options
major.
here aren't television or mobile.
No,
Like, that's
I
a
know,
false dichotomy.
I was, I just think those are when people are, when I'm saying, people are looking for the dollars and like, okay, where I'm gonna spend my dollars. I feel like those are the platforms that are ESPN's eyeing because they're not gonna sell banner ads on their freaking website. Ain't
Ads?
nobody no one's
No,
spending money on that, right?
you got to get
So
creative. Absolutely not. It's not banner ads.
no one's spending any money on that. No one's making their living off of that content. Um, I think that where we might see ESPN is going to be heavily produced content. We're going to see, I hope, television programmings, talk shows, like legit high level talk shows in a studio with lights and real, infrastructure behind it. And then I fully anticipate to see ESPN purchasing exclusivity rights for tournaments. I really do. They already know how to do it. They've already done it in the past. You're gonna, maybe not now, maybe not 3 years from now, but one day a man is gonna come a knocking and say, "You run Genesis, or you run this. Here's a bag of money. We will now stream it." we will be the exclusive rights provider for this event.
Well, you'll
Yeah.
just stream it to our platform, and we'll run our ads, and you just accept this large sum of change.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if they'll build their own platform. I feel like they might still do it to Twitch. Like, they might like keep it native, but they will. If that's the case, maybe they will do their own platform. I think MLG proved to us that might not be ideal for a community, but I feel that ESPN may just push it to Twitch and just sell like native. They'll put like actual ads into the broadcast as opposed to like Twitch nonsense. Like they'll just won't run like Twitch ads. They'll just
Let me remind you, ESPN already has their own platform.
meh. I guess
and it's not a Twitch competitor. It's not. It's a cable TV channel. 3 of them.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, you're right.
So
that platform, but they still have a
well,
digital element of it.
sure, but they can do whatever they want with that. That's not where their dollars are. That's not where the Procter and Gamble dollars are, at least.
That Procter and Gamble dollars. It's true. Okay, you're right. To their platform, exclusively, which
Yep.
will probably be television rights and I guess ESL and
You don't get me wrong. They have their channels on their website as well. You can just go on ESPN.com and if you have a like
you have to have a subscription to their channels, don't you?
yeah,
To-
yeah, exactly. Yes, yes. And if you own rights or subscription or whatever the hell to their channels, then you can just watch it. So they do have their own platform already.
It's probably that's probably profitable, I imagine. Like to say if you already own a television package, this is a value add to that.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, yeah, that's what I see next. All right, guys. So, really energetic topic today. I really enjoyed this episode. This was, I think, one of my favorites so far. Any key exclusive. Tamir, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Strygwyrd, STRYGWYRD.
Bear, where can they find you on the internet? I guess Joshua. Where can they find you on the internet?
Oh,
You can find me at Josh Ooh-ah, Josh OOHAH on Twitter and Instagram. And yeah.
oh man.
I miss Bear. I miss him so much.
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram as Drexama. I really think I almost picked up Snapchat, changed my mind, went back to Instagram.
Are
That's where you can find me.
are they mutually exclusive? You can't.
No, it's just I don't want to put any time into Snapchat. I really don't. Find me on the internet. Find me there. Join my discussions on Facebook, Drek and Pones on Facebook. There's a lot of esports nonsense that happens there. You can follow the show here on twitch.tv/ESChamp. We also are on the Aniki in SoundCloud and iTunes. Oh, I don't know why that was so hard for me. I need to get a teleprompter. Wait till we get our television studio. Follow ESChamp on all the social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, except Instagram is ESChampGG. And you can join us on the show every week, 6 p.m. Tuesday. Guys, keep searching for that Aniki.